Welcome to MCN and a series of videos where this year we're talking about our 2024 long-term test fleet. And today's video is all about this Harley-Davidson Pan America CVO. And I'd like to introduce Justin, our products man. Products and just about everything else.
Absolutely, yeah. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having us along, mate.
Pleasure. You've been living with this for how long?
Since May, so it's done a good 6 months.
Where are we now? November?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've done how many miles?
Just coming up 12,000.
Right, okay. And this is the CVO version of Harley's first ever adventure bike, isn't it?
That's
it. Came
it.
out a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So this particular model is to celebrate 25 years of their custom vehicle operations, which is their factory custom department.
And I've asked you, as we always do in these videos, to come up with 10 things you like and 10 things you don't like about this bike.
Yeah.
So let's start positive, shall we?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Just before I just jump into that, how much does this cost?
It's just over 24 grand.
Right.
So it's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a lot of bike.
Exactly, yeah.
And where have you been on it? And what have you done on it?
So I've tried to do everything that you'd want to do on an adventure bike. So I've been on-road, I've been off-road, toured Europe, I've explored the UK, basically put this through what it should be able to do.
Yeah.
Obviously I haven't come close to what it can do in the extremes.
Yeah.
It's just to sort of get an idea of what the average owner can put it through.
Yeah, yeah. And it'd be quite interesting to see what it's been like to live with, because it's quite a contentious bike, really, isn't it? I mean, this goes up against the mighty GS, the KTM Super Adventures and all of those kind of bikes. And, you know, Harley aren't really known for off-road, are they?
Not at all.
No, so this is sort of their first go. So let's talk about the first thing you like is the engine.
What the engine, I've ridden some of their cruisers in the past.
What is it? Big V-twin?
Yeah, it's a big V-twin.
1250?
1250.
1250.
Revolution Max, they call it.
Yeah.
150 horsepower, 94 foot-pound of torque.
Yeah.
It's quite a beast.
Yeah.
And compared with their cruisers and whatever, it's a totally different animal because they're generally sort of low revving, thudding cruiser things. This is a bit of an animal.
So
as I said,
it's sporty.
It's surprisingly sporty. Obviously, you've got different engine modes for the throttle, but when you've got it in sport, so you're getting everything out of the engine, it's a fast bike.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the common thread with all big adventure bikes. They're actually very sporty, aren't they? The B-Beamer is, the KTM is. They're not sort of big lolloping old beasts, are they?
And, you know, I mean, compared with, say, the GS, it's not the Golf that you think it might be in terms of performance. It's pretty much on a par. I think the GS has maybe got a few extra BHP, maybe a couple of extra torques in the tank.
So it's a quick bike.
Yeah.
Is it a comfortable bike? This is your next point.
Yeah, it is. It's got, I'll say it's a special seat. It's got the CVO seat on it. I've done a 1,000-mile day on that in 23 hours.
Yep.
And not once did I think about comfort being an issue. The riding position's really nice. I did modify that for going off-road. We'll talk about that in a minute, what I did. But generally for like cruising, you can sit on the motorway for hours. It's really comfortable. Ergonomics are just perfect for just sitting there and feeling like you're in a high-powered armchair.
Nice. And where specifically have you been on this? Where are sort of the highlights of where you've been?
So as far as Europe concerned, I went through France, Germany, down through the Black Forest, down through the Tyrol, so did sort of that bit of Western Italy that's kind of half German, half Italian.
Yeah.
Down to Senegalia.
This is on one trip.
This on one trip, yeah. Down to Senegalia for a hog meet, which was interesting. First one of those I've been to.
Did they accept you?
Well, that's the interest. That's one of the negatives of this bike, actually.
We'll come to that then.
So we'll come to that in a bit.
Okay.
But on that trip, I went and did some gravel passes in the Alps as well, which was interesting because it was with full load of luggage.
On your own?
Yeah,
No one there to...
we don't really want to advise that you should do that kind of thing on your own, but I was there, it was a sunny day, I saw it on the map.
If this thing pins you down, you're not getting out from underneath it.
Again, that is something we're going to come to.
Always jumping ahead. So it's comfortable.
It's really comfortable.
It looks comfy as well. Seat looks great. What about good leg room?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got all the room you need on it. The seat's adjustable as well. It's got, I think, about 5 centimetres of adjustment in it between top and bottom. So you can customise your riding position to a certain extent. I like it high.
Yeah.
Because that just suits my legs. I've got fairly long legs.
Good bar position, not too many vibes.
It's surprising how few vibes it's got. You expect with a Harley that it's going to rattle your fillings out your teeth, but all right, it's got character. It's got some lumpiness to it because it lets you know that that you're riding it. As I say, long distance, there's nothing. There was no white finger, no numb hands, no anything like that.
Screen good, or we're going to come on to that?
It's a 50-50, the screen.
Okay.
It's one of those things where you ride it in isolation and you think, mate, it does the job. It keeps the wind off, it keeps the rain off. But it does have a downside as when you start comparing it to other bikes.
Right.
So if you compare it again, for example, to the GS, you're almost cocooned in this little vacuum when you're on it where you can't even feel or hear anything. That's not that good.
Bit noisier.
It's adjustable, so you can tune it. You can have it all the way up.
Yeah, just nice and easy there.
It's just got a little trigger.
Oh, there you go. We all need a little trigger in our lives.
Exactly.
Right. So electronics are another good thing that you've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's fully loaded with electronics. It's got all the different modes for on-road,
So we're talking
off-road.
about rider aids now.
Yeah,
aren't we?
let's just talk about that side of it first of all. Obviously, it's got traction control, it's got corner and ABS, it's got everything that you would expect
Yep.
a class lean adventure bike to have. They're customisable as well, which
Yep.
is really nice. So if you're going to ride off-road, you can tune to how you want the throttle to react, how you want the engine braking to react, all
Yep.
those things that just make it a personal ride.
And the electronic suspension as well is controlled within the electronics.
It is, yeah. So you can have different setups. It's got an off-road setting, it's got a sport setting, it's got an off-road sport setting, and you can,
Okay.
again,
Yeah.
you can fine-tune it. And it's not just for show either. It really does change the personality of the bike. I think that's a real key point is, you can have it as an animal that you're basically hanging on to,
Yeah, yeah,
trying to get,
yeah.
just trying to get through your ride, but you can soften it all down
Yeah.
so that it's a pussycat.
That's the good thing about integrated electronics that work really well. Within riding modes, you get multiple bikes in one.
And you really do with this.
Press
yeah.
of a button. Has it got a quick shifter?
It has got a quick shifter, which it really needed because it didn't have one originally, and you expect it on a bike
So
like
it
this.
wasn't
to have one.
standard?
It wasn't standard when the bike came out.
Right.
It's standard on this model.
Okay.
And I think it's on the model below it as well. It's got it as standard. And it's something you expect to have
Yeah.
on a bike like this.
And what about electronic goodies like cruise control?
Yeah, it's got
heated grips.
It's got cruise control. Cruise control's great. You can ride the bike on it when you're on the motorway, which
Yeah.
is what you want to be able to do, speed up, slow down. There's no radar, there's no adaptive cruise or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's perfectly adequate. The heated grips are the only thing that lets it down a bit on that front.
It doesn't have them all.
It's got them,
but they're not very good.
they're just a bit weak.
Okay.
Lukewarm, I think, is the
Lukewarm
best way
grips,
to describe
lukewarm
them.
grips. Okay, so next thing on your list is to do with the suspension that we touched on. So it's got semi-active suspension with adaptive ride height, which a few bikes are starting to get now. I think this was
Yeah.
the first one, wasn't it?
I
The
think
Harley?
it may have been when
Yeah.
it first came
Does
out.
the
yeah.
low rider when you come to a stop.
Which is fantastic. In the way you can roll up to a light, you've not got that thing where you're on a big adventure bike and you're touching down tippy toe. You pull up to a junction and you can get both feet flat on the floor. Well, I can anyway.
How far does it go down, do you know? Like 10 mil or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's actually even a little bit more than that. If you've got
Okay.
the seat at the highest level, it actually makes quite a big difference.
Yeah.
And it is significant. It does affect the handling though when you're at low speed. It's been described as having a flat tyre.
Yep.
It starts to feel a bit more like a cruiser or whatever, because it does change the geometry of it, because it's quite significantly.
Yeah. Especially when you're filtering at low speed. I know when we tested these before,
Yeah.
suddenly you feel like you're on a chopper.
But you can lock it,
Yep.
which is really nice. And you have that power over it, which is, I think, really important that you can turn it off if you want to.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to take it off-road.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to probably talk about a bit more about that in a minute.
Okay.
The suspension when you're actually on the move, is because it's quite a big bike and it's a heavy bike, and you want to ride it in sport mode when you're on the twisties, just
Yeah.
because it's got that instant grunt off the throttle.
Yeah.
Yet you can come barreling into bends, and that rear shock is constantly adjusting the preload, so you can really throw it into a series of bends and it just smooths it out. It's really impressive how it manages to tame what's nearly 300 kilos a bike.
Oh, that's a lot of bike, isn't it?
It is a lot of bike. One slight thing about that though is if you're on a long straight stretch and you've got a lot of series of bumps, that kind of metalled road feeling where you get those corrugations,
Yeah.
it can struggle to keep up.
Right.
And you can actually feel it doing that. But I mean, that's rare and it's quite an extreme situation,
Yeah.
but it can do it. But all in all, that suspension setup is absolutely fantastic. It makes it feel almost like a supermoto.
Yeah.
It tightens it
Wow.
up that much.
Next on your pros list, tyres. So you've got some good tyres on this one.
Yeah, I've been through, this is the third set of tyres on it.
Yeah.
First ones were the OE Michelin Scorcher Adventure, which are a lot like Anarchy Street kind of thing. They're
Yeah.
about an 80-20.
Yeah. That's 80 on road, 20 off.
20 off, yeah.
Yeah.
I rode it on road with those. I did some gravel roads, some fire tracks on that kind, and they were fine. I think I did nearly 6,000 miles on them, maybe a little bit
Okay.
more. So
That's good for a big bike like this, heavy bike.
absolutely. But then I went on to Dunlop Trail Max Raid.
Yeah.
which are more of a 50-50. They've got that square, blocky pattern. It changed the personality of the bike for the better, which is really interesting because it took away the sharpness of the handling, which you would think would be a negative. But what it actually did was make this feel like the adventure bike that you want it to feel
Right.
like. You'd get off, you'd feel like you're riding the Dakar.
So it wasn't unstable on the tarmac?
No, not at all. To begin with, maybe the first 100 miles, you felt like the front and back were fighting each other. But once the little edges went off of those blocks, it just made it feel tough.
Yep.
It's that thing about any bike, it's how it makes you feel, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'd ride it like that and you'd feel like you were pumped, like you were riding it with your shoulders, and you'd get off and you'd feel like you'd done the Dakar every time you'd been out on it. And that's kind of what you want
Yeah. Wow.
from a big bike
And
like
they
that.
look cool.
Oh, they look brilliant. But really interesting, great in the, well, I say great in the wet. For a tyre like that, incredibly impressive in the wet.
Yeah.
They never felt like that you were struggling for grip or anything like that, or even though it's got the traction control and everything else to get you out of trouble if you
Yeah,
get in
yeah.
it. But they were just amazing tyres, and they suited, this should almost come with those as standard.
Yeah,
Because
so-
you'd ride out of the showroom,
So they're Dunlop,
Trail Max Raid.
how much Raid?
Absolutely loved them.
And how long did they last?
I had them on for about 2,500 miles. Only reason was I wanted to try something a bit sportier on it before it went back. I would have kept those on.
And these are,
These are Continental Trail Attack 3. So they're much more of a road bias tyre.
80-20 again, do you think?
Thereabouts may even
Or
be
90.
more 90-10, I think.
Okay, yeah.
What I really like about these, especially at this time of year, is they warm up so fast. And
So they're basically sports touring tyres with a bit of a heavier tread pattern, aren't they?
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go and try to do anything serious off-roading with these on
No,
there, obviously,
no,
but
no.
they suit the sporty edge and they're good for this time of year.
Yeah.
You ride out, and by the time you got to the end of the road, you've
good
got
to go.
confidence in the front end. So
The looks of this, quite divisive, but you've put the looks on your likes list.
I have. I mean, I know that if you live with something, you know, you get that moment where you click with a bike and you walk away and you do the look back over your shoulder. It's almost like, you know, one of those love at first sight sort of. There's a moment where you gel with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, 1,000 or so miles in, I turned around, looked at it, and it kind of made sense with the way it looks, because there are all sorts of things you could use to describe the way this looks. And I know it really is sort of a contentious thing. It's kind of got muscle car looks. It's got this 60s kind of Dodge Charger-y, and I know we're talking cars, but that's kind of part of the personality of this bike as well. It's an American bike.
Yeah.
So to have that little bit of muscle car about it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Next thing on your likes list is the luggage. So is this standard?
This comes as standard, yep.
With the CVO, not
With
with
the
other model?
CVO, yeah. And that's 120 litres of luggage space. Now, you two are a bit yourself.
What's that
That's-
in pants?
In pants?
Quite a lot.
Well, put it this way. When I went off to do Europe on it, I had one pannier with all my work stuff in it. So I had laptop, chargers, bag for that, mouse, power supplies, all that kind of thing was in one. I had another one that was all my clothes and stuff, spare pair of trainers, couple of pairs of jeans. I was away for 10 days, so I had basically everything I needed going to Italy, so something smart as well, of course. And in the top one, I had my security stuff. So I had chains in there, spare pair of gloves, that kind of thing. And there was still space. So I still had room for souvenirs and...
Was they
bits and
waterproof?
bobs. Yeah, 100%.
Did you take the bags into your hotel?
Yeah,
Or have they got inner bags to
They come within a bag, so you just take the bags out and away you go.
leave the hard panniers where
But
they
they're really easy to come off. I mean, I think these are actually SW Motec in.
Oh, they're brilliant.
The great thing about this luggage is how easy it comes off. Because if you're going to ride it off-road,
Yeah.
although I have done, you really don't want all that on the back of
No,
it.
no. So is it simple to get the luggage off?
Yeah, it really is. Because like I said earlier, it's SW Motec, so these things are engineered to just pop off.
Nice.
And the top box and the other one is the same. So, you know, you can almost ride to wherever you want to ride off-road,
Yeah.
make camp,
Yeah.
and then go off and enjoy the bike off-road. And it changes the personality and the looks
Yeah,
of it completely.
exactly. The final thing on your likes list is the fact that you'd actually want to buy one of these.
Yes, kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. If I was in the market for a big adventure bike, you know, you've got to put yourself in those shoes. If I was out looking at what's on offer, I think you'd be a fool to not consider this, because it is a lot of bike for the money.
Yeah.
But the GSA is going to be there or thereabouts, probably more anyway.
Yeah.
KTM fully loaded, you're not really far
No,
off
that's
that
right.
as well. What this has got, again, it comes back to the personality of the bike. You know, people might be put off because it's a Harley, but go and ride one, because it's actually got something about it
Yeah.
that the other bikes haven't got. They've all got their strong points.
And it's different, isn't it? Everyone's got a GS or a KTM, haven't they? So-
It's different, and you can actually be a bit smug with this because it's a damn good bike.
Yeah, yeah. Has it been reliable, or are we going to come on to this?
I've not had a single breakdown at all or anything.
Wow.
I did have a couple of error codes come up, but that was my fault when I fitted bar risers. I didn't quite allow enough room in the cable, and they were low voltage ones.
Right.
Which I only found out when the dealer said,
So that's not the bike's
it's
fault.
you. That's not the bike's fault at all. No, I've not had to have anything replaced, changed. It's done a set of brake pads.
Happy days.
That's it.
What about, is it good on fuel?
About 45 miles to the gallon across the whole period I've had it.
So what's that tank range?
21 litre tank.
200 and a bit?
I've done 230 on it to completely dry, which happened in France.
Oh, you ran out?
I actually ran out, yeah.
What did you do?
Well, you know, if you travel off-piste
Yeah.
in France,
There's no
petrol
petrol station.
stations,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I was relying on a sat-nav to show me where the next one was. It was a diesel truck stop when I got there, so that was out.
no.
The next one was closed down, and that was on the sat-nav. Google Maps was the same, and I was 3 kilometres short of a petrol station, and it just... So 230 is what it will do.
So what do you do?
I had to walk.
Okay, right, let's go on to the things you're not so keen about.
Okay,
So we're clutching at straws a bit.
Yeah, we are
Yeah?
a bit. Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
But we're going to drill it down and...
Weight.
299 kilos curb weight.
That's a heavy
I think
bike.
that says it all.
Yeah.
And it was in that trim, plus fully loaded panniers, that I did some gravel roads in the Alps on my own.
So where does that excess weight become a problem for you? Because you're quite tall, and with the seat lowering, it's probably not too bad.
Pushing it around, obviously.
Yeah.
If you've got to do any sort of manoeuvring.
It's got centre stand.
It has got a centre stand. Bit of a job to get it up on it. It's all
Yeah.
about the technique. Takes my whole body weight to swing it up. So it is a big beast. But it's that thing that if you've got to pick it up, that's a lot of bike. There are techniques for doing it.
Yeah.
So you can do it, but it's still... And if you're on any sort of soft ground, obviously it does dig in. I mean, just as a little example, around my shed is grass, and I have to 3-point turn to get it in and out the shed every time, and I've now got divots and grooves that I have to push it in and out of to get it. I mean, we're clutching a little bit here, but...
That's something to remember it by when it goes back.
Exactly,
You better
yeah.
look at your shed and go, oh, God.
Those puddles.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that bike.
So yeah, it's heavy. There's no getting away from that.
But a lot of its weight problems would be off-road. I mean, on tarmac, around town, the weight disappears, the old cliche, doesn't it?
As soon as you roll in, but that's the only thing to bear in mind.
Okay, next is how difficult it is to clean. Like most adventure bikes,
Yeah, I
lots of
mean,
nooks and crannies.
you've only got to look at it to see there's all little fairings and things and vents, and it is an absolute sod to clean.
Yeah.
Even just, you look at bits like this and around the screen, off the tank, everywhere, there are little bits that just make it hard to make it look nice. Although, I've got to say, underneath the rear subframe is clean as you like. It's got a complete plastic shroud in there, hose it off.
Happy days.
It's not an issue, but yeah, you're a good couple of hours cleaning this. Spokes as well, of course, but then that's adventure bike territory.
What else are you going to do? Right.
You can ride it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you put the finish of the bike on the...
Yeah, it's only a
Consley.
small thing, really, but because it's right in your eye line, it really bothers me. That steering damper has got that rusty washer in there, and it's such a small thing, but it can let the whole bike down because you can see it in front of you. The exhaust collector box as well isn't the prettiest thing. It's starting to look a bit orange and rusty down there.
But is that the only corrosion or rust on it?
That's it.
And the paint finish is all nice?
Paint finish is absolutely lovely. Obviously, that is special to the model, and it's a really high quality paint job.
Not too bad then. Might be able to get a new washer.
No, I'm trying to be as picky. I'm
Yeah, exactly.
trying to find
you've been
negatives,
picky.
so.
That's fair enough. You got these mirrors on your...
Yeah, I'm not massively keen on these. The stems are quite short on them. They don't quite sit in the right place to give me, personally, the adjustment that I want out of them.
Do they vibrate?
No.
Oh, that's all right.
No issue really. I mean, they do a bit.
Just got a clear view of your elbow rather than a blurred view.
Exactly, yeah. So for me, they're just a little bit low, and it bothers me a little if you're riding off-road as well. Because they're so solid, if you're standing up, your wrists are basically against the mirrors.
Do you move the bars at all for off-road riding?
I put bar risers on it, which was...
hence the...
Yeah, 2 inches up and an inch back.
Okay.
And then I could stand up perfectly straight.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. I've only really taken them off now because it's easier to do long distance on the road with them off.
Right.
Because otherwise your hands are just a little bit too high. But yeah, they did change the bike completely. Wunderlich ones they were.
Okay.
From Nippy Norman's, worth mentioning that.
Right, okay. Right, next is, it hasn't got all the mod cons you want for touring.
We're back on the heated grips, really.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to. They're lukewarm at best.
Some bike, BMWs, you can barely touch them when they're full blast,
exactly.
can't you? Yeah.
It's worth just sticking another pro in here while we're here.
Yeah.
Just to mention the integration of the whole thing. We didn't really talk about Bluetooth and that kind of thing and how it
And
all
also, I
links
noticed
together.
it's keyless as well.
It's keyless.
With a keyless
cap,
So
Pop from the
all
cap.
the integration,
So it's nice. You can hook your phone up to it through the Harley app. You get your navigation on your TFT dash.
Turn by turn or a map?
It's a map.
Right.
which is nice. But you can
Is it
have
2 apps, or do you have to run? Is it?
it's one app.
One
It
app,
goes
that's
through the
good.
Harley app. Personally, I don't use it because I much prefer an all singing, all dancing sat nav, which I've got
yeah.
fitted there, just because it gives you more information and it's
Yeah.
better for routing and stuff. But everything's controlled off the bars. You know, it's worth saying that the switch gear's nice. It's really simple, not too much of it.
Not too fiddly.
No, really easy to find everything, apart from the horn, which is quite a long way underneath. And in fact, this morning I needed that as somebody was changing lanes, not seeing I was there. I mean, how you can't see this, I don't know. So I went for a quick toot and ended up indicating.
Need a lorry horn on this, don't you?
It does, yeah. I mean, it does make a noise,
It's quite
but
loud. Okay, the stand you don't like.
right, takes a long time to get used to.
It's quite far forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I think it is, it's a hangover from their cruiser bikes that have it towards the front. So normally you just pull up, kick your stand down, lean your bike over.
Yeah.
You have to kind of lean this the other way, push the stand down and then pull it back. So it's a little bit of a palaver, like anything, you get used to it. But if we're looking for negatives, just the easy use of the kickstand is definitely one.
Right, next on the list is a screen. It's basic.
Yeah.
There's enough. We've touched on that, haven't we?
Exactly, yeah. It works, it's adequate.
Yeah.
But
But a lot of big tall bikes like this have got noisy screens anyway. So
yeah,
just
but we're looking for things that it could be better.
Exactly.
It definitely could be better.
gearbox and quick shifter.
Right, we've already mentioned that it's got a quick shifter on this, which
Yeah.
it needed. But the gear change, I don't want to use the word agricultural because it's too easy when you're talking about a Harley. And this is better than the average Harley. Although, to be fair, the GS gear change isn't that slick.
No.
As it is.
Yeah.
So the problem I found, which is probably a little bit of rider error as well, doesn't happen all the time, but it does have a tendency to drop out a fifth when you're really hammering along. It could well be that you've gone up through 3 gears and you haven't clicked it quite as hard. I've tried to recreate it, I can't recreate it.
Does it do it when you quick shift, or does it do it with the clutch?
It's quick shifting
Right.
that does it. But as I say, difficult to say whether it's the bike or me. Having said that, I have spoken to another Pan America owner who brought up the same issue.
Okay.
You know,
Does it happen immediately after you go from 4th to 5th?
It's as soon as you
or
make the
when you're halfway through 5th.
No, it doesn't go as far as halfway through. You change up, so you clunk, change up, and it drops back out again.
Yeah. Some older Ducatis do that. You can feel it. They've almost got a notch between 4th and 5th, like a little neutrally notch.
That is
Maybe
kind
something
of
like that.
Like I say, it doesn't do it every time.
Yeah.
And you try and you can ride it in 5th, put a lot and try and bang it open and see if it'll do
Yeah.
it. It won't do it. You downshift from 6th to 5th, it won't do it. It's only when you're going up and you're pressing on.
So if you're pressing on in 5th, that'd be the
Let's
Autobahn.
not go there. That would be the Autobahn.
Wouldn't it? That's
definitely.
right.
That's
Okay.
pulling out the services.
That's
and,
it. Moving swiftly on. Clutch.
Clutch. All right, it's got
So
a
it's hydraulic clutch.
Nope.
No, it's got cable clutch.
cable clutch.
There you go.
And it could be something to do with the fact that it's a big V-twin or whatever, but I do find that when it gets hot, it goes out of adjustment, then finding neutral is an absolute pain in the arse. So you're either constantly trying to adjust it to make sure it's there, or you forget about trying to put it in neutral altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are coming to a stop and you're on a gradient, it does have
hill hold.
So it's not the end of the world. But I think it's because it's got a cable and because of the nature of the engine and the clutch and changes in temperature, neutral can be difficult from time to time.
Right, and finally, probably the most important thing you said here, because no matter what we said about how good the bike is, most people are going to look at this. Most Harley riders aren't going to accept it. Most adventure riders think it's probably too Harley-ish, and the looks are challenging. So you've got it's how it goes down with other riders as your final point.
Yeah, I mean, everybody needs to bear in mind, what everyone should bear in mind when you're a motorcyclist is to not give a flying hoot what anybody else thinks.
No, exactly.
However, when you're touring or something like that, you do come into contact with other people on the road.
Yeah.
And on that European tour, I found that if I'm pulling up and they were Africa Twins or Super Adventures or whatever else, I wasn't really being included in the group.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People tend to not even look at you.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little. People
Social
are funny.
leper.
Yeah, we're a funny sort of community like that as
very
motorcyclists.
tribal,
That it does happen. So anyway, I thought because I was going down to this hog meeting down in Italy that things would get better
might
along
have
the
some
way.
friends.
But you pull up with guys on Harleys and they're not really interested either. It's like the old V-Rod thing. They don't consider it part of the family. So by the time I got down to the hog rally, I found out that even the Pan America owners were sort of not wanting to know you because you were on the posh CVO version. It has changed a little bit now because, believe it or not, they've sold a few of these in the UK.
Yep.
So there's a hog chapter over Dunstable Way, Three Rivers over there, and there's at least 2 people in the chapter that have got them.
Right.
And the standard versions as well.
What's a chapter?
Chapter.
This is a very Harley thing,
now,
isn't it?
This is something I'm just about to look into, and is going to be my last long-termer update. So I'm not going to say too much about it now. I'm going to explore the world of Chapters for the paper. So,
which are basically Harley bike clubs.
Harley bike clubs that are based in a dealership.
Right.
Yeah, we're not talking the Black Widows or
no.
Hells Angels or whatever.
The bikies in Australia.
Yeah. No, this.
These people that have got these in the UK, would they have a normal Harley as well, cruiser as well? Do you think, or do you think this is their only bike?
From what I can see, this is what they've moved on to. Quite a few of them seem to be Harley owners anyway, because it's a brand that people are really sort of locked into. But a lot of them seem to have moved from baggers and cruisers to this because they want an adventure bike, and it's the one that their brand offers.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's almost a little bit secret that this is a
really good bike.
Yeah.
I can see that you really like this bike. If I was to, obviously it's 24 grand's a lot of money. You're not going to go run into the shops tomorrow and buy one, are you?
No.
Well, you might be.
No.
If I was to...
My wife would have a fit.
If I was to gift you any big capacity adventure bike, you've ridden quite a few of them, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I've probably ridden most of the current ones, yeah.
Would you take this?
I would, because it can do everything that it's supposed to do. And it's got this kind of like, you kind of feel like you're in the same squad as it.
Yeah.
You feel like it's always going to back you up. Like I said, it's not gone wrong or anything. It doesn't think it's better than you.
Yeah.
Even though it is. I mean, you know, this will outride you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
but you always feel this has got your back.
Yeah.
There's something about the kind of military spec thing that they've built into it.
Yeah.
It's like having a Humvee or something like that. It feels reliable. It's got your back. It's got the go.
Brilliant.
What can you say?
Yeah. Fantastic. And I guess you're keeping this for a little bit longer.
Just got it going into winter. I dare say it'll be gone by the time weather gets really bad. Yeah, I've got a couple more things that I want to do with it, just to tick all the boxes.
Yeah, you'll be sorry to see it go.
I will be sorry, but at the same time, it's a big lot of bike to live with.
Anyway, thank you very much for showing us around the bike and letting us know all about it. It's very interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more long-term test videos like this coming very soon.